What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Peaked, and this is my first gaming PC. So for the specs, it's rocking the i5-8600K, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and the GTX 1060. Now the budget for this build was around $1,000, so obviously I'm not going to go overkill with the storage, RAM, or motherboard. So I also kept it simple for those. I went with the Gigabyte Z370p motherboard, 120 gigabyte SSD for my operating system, and a 2 terabyte hard drive for mainly everything else besides my operating system. And of course, we're definitely not going to need something like a 1000 watt power supply to power all this, so I went with the EVGA 500 watt 80 plus bronze rated power supply. So actually, one of my favorite things about this build is the NZXT H500i, my case. It comes with RGB lighting inside, cable management raceways in the back, and of course a tempered glass side panel, which can easily be removed with one thumb screw. The case also comes equipped with two 120mm fans, and I actually didn't add any more because I felt like that was enough, and I know they're only like $6 or so for a fan, but I just decided that 2 was enough, and I got a good enough CPU cooler to make sure everything was cool enough and didn't overheat. I would say pretty much the one setback about this case is that between the back panel and the back where you mount the motherboard, there's only like an inch or two of space, so it was very difficult to cable manage back there, but I figured it out by kind of just stuffing the cables next to the PSU, which works for now, but I'm probably going to open it back up and redo some of the cable management later. Even with that though, this case is still amazing for cable management. It even comes with a hole in the PSU basement ceiling to route the GPU wire right down so you don't have to run it all the way back to the motherboard, which just makes the entire build look a lot cleaner. This case also comes with an LED lit power button, 2 USB 3 ports, and a headphone and audio jack to plug in your headphones and your mic, if you didn't want to plug them into the motherboard in the back. So I got the black and red version because I think you can probably see I was going for a black and red color scheme on the PC, even though the graphics card kind of throws that off, but I'll talk about that later. The motherboard that I chose that sits inside the case is pretty much what I would call the best motherboard that you could get with a $1,000 PC build. It comes with an M.2 slot. You can definitely use 2 graphics cards in it, and it even comes with orange LEDs on the left hand side, which I know I'm going for a black and red build, but you really can't see them that much. Now unfortunately, I am not using the M.2 slot because I do have a 120 gigabyte SSD mounted in the back of the case, which is really that's another nice thing about the case. The SSDs go mounted in the back, so you can't see them because mine is not a black and red SSD. But anyway, it's pretty ugly SSD, so it can go in the back of the case. You guys don't have to see it. The motherboard also comes with 4 RAM slots. Unfortunately, I'm only using 2 of them. I mean, not really unfortunately, but I have 16 gigabytes of RAM. I really don't need any more than that. And sitting in the socket is the i5-8600K, as I mentioned earlier. Probably one of the best CPUs that you can get with a $1,000 build. It performs very well. The temps seem to be kept pretty low thanks to my CPU cooler from Arctic. It is the Arctic Freeze Pro 33 Esports edition, I'm pretty sure. It actually keeps my CPU very cool. I'll talk about the temps in a sec. For the RAM, I went with 16 gigabytes of Tforce RGB RAM. Now this was kind of a steal actually. They were only $110 on Black Friday on Newegg, so I was definitely going to pick them up, especially since it was faster RAM and more RAM for less than double the price of the RAM I was originally going to get. Now for the graphics card, unless I got a Ryzen CPU, I probably wouldn't be able to get much of a better graphics card, so I picked up the Asus GTX 1060 graphics card. I could have gotten the 1070 if I went with the R5 2600, which I could have gone with, but I think I would like to keep it more like mid-range instead of like a CPU that's not as good and a graphics card better. I'd rather have like a decent CPU and then a decent graphics card, and I think they do work really well together. The only problem with the graphics card is that it's not black and red, as you can see back there. Kind of throws off the entire build. I could have gotten an MSI, but this one was only like $220 when I got it, and then the MSI one is like $300, $310, so it would have made my build like over $1,000, and that's not what I was trying to do. Personally, I still think it looks fine because I am using cable extensions from, I don't know what the brand is. Those do make the build look a lot cleaner as well, because if I was using the PSU cables, they would just be plain black, and they would really not look as good, and I would prefer the cable extensions over the PSU cables. Now, unfortunately, I'm not sure if the motherboard or any of the parts were the best parts that I could have picked for overclocking, but I will not be overclocking since it's my first build and I don't want the parts to overheat. Maybe in future builds I'll overclock, but for now I'm just going to leave everything as it is and normal. Now the temps while gaming, I think I might have put a little too much thermal paste on, or the i5-8600K just doesn't use much heat, because I've never really seen my temps exceed over 55 to 60 Celsius, which is actually fairly good, especially because some of the overkill builds, like the $6,000 PCs, the CPUs can reach up to 100 Celsius. So mine staying at a constant like 50 to 55 Celsius is actually fairly good. Now, FPS in Fortnite is actually pretty high. In Tilted, depending where I am, I can get up to 170 frames. If I'm running out in the open, I can be getting almost 200 frames and sometimes around 205, which is extremely high for a $1,000 PC. And even with rendering, the temps still stay fairly low. I've never seen the CPU get above 45 degrees Celsius, and the GPU is not really being used much, so it's more at like 30 Celsius. I mean, there's no 4K footage or anything. The PC renders it extremely fast. It renders at 4 times faster than my laptop rendered it, which is no surprise. If I had a 10-minute video, the PC would render it in about 5 to 6 minutes. If it was a 4K video, I can't say because I don't have a 4K camera. I've never filmed anything in 4K. And then the last thing that I'm going to test for you guys is the sound. It's usually a little louder while rendering, but I'm going to give you a sound test while rendering. So here's a sound test of my first PC. Anyway guys, that's gonna wrap it up for the video. Make sure you guys enjoy. Make sure you guys enjoy. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe, drop a like, turn the post notifications on. Anyway guys, I'm gonna give a shout out because I'm kind of behind on shout outs. So Parker, I believe you commented first on my Christmas tech unboxing video. So here's a shout out to you, Parker. Person that comments first on this video will probably get shouted out in like 2 videos or so. Actually, I'm gonna catch up on shout outs right now. I'm gonna give a shout out to Sam, who commented first on my last video, which was my setup video where I upgraded everything from a laptop to a PC. So now I'm all caught up on shoutouts. Whoever comments first this video, I'll try and remember to give you guys a shout out next video. So make sure you go down, comment first, turn the post notifications on if you haven't already so you can comment first, and there will definitely be more PC builds in the future for you guys, because I know that my PC build, it's on track to 1,000 views, which is insane. I was just waiting for a video to get a lot more views than most of my other videos, because most of them stay at like 100 views, and then they just don't get any more. So anyway guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. As always, peace out.